Everybody. I'm Dr. Shahid Ahmed. I'm working as principal scientist in the plant breeding in the crop improvement division of IGFRI. So the topic provided is related to the plant genetic resources and genetic improvement of particularly the oat crop for high forage yield and the quality. So we will continue with that, and in the hope that I will be able to give you some of the tips related to the how to have high forage yield and the quality from the oat crop. So what is basically oat is known as is jai in Hindi, or javi, we all know it is, and belongs to the Gramini family. This is utilized as a livestock and human food. So when you go, it start it's it was started late back in when you go to, pardon, Samuel Johnson's dictionary, you will find that at this was the timing when the Second World War was going on in around 1942-45. So from the England, someone write in the Johnson dictionary that oat is a crop which is eaten by people in the Scotland, but it is only fit for the horses in the England. So against that, some Scotsman writes that that's why England has such a good horses and Scotland has such a fine man. So this was the conversation that goes on the oat crop particularly because of its importance related to as a forage, as a oat for human consumption, as a snacks, bars, cookies, and what next invention is coming in the next decades, we do not know. So if you go to the production status, around 23 millions of metric ton of oat is produced every year throughout the world. And Russian Federation is the largest oat producer. Canada comes the second. European Union, which includes the 27 countries, is the highest producer if you combine all those 27 countries, 8.1 million metric tons of oat is produced. This is the statistical data from 2020, and Russia comes second, followed by Canada. So what is importance in the oat, import status of oat in India? As such, Indian data is not available for forage oat and for most of the forage crops. So, but from the different agencies, you will find that India is importing oat seed of around 8.04 million rupees in US dollars. This was the data in 2019-20, and the most preferred nations are Australia, Ukraine, Chile, and Finland. So these Chile and Finland, they have from 2020 they have not sent anything, but Australia and Ukraine are the major countries from where India is importing. And in the Ukraine, the status of industries is like that 388%. There is a rise in the industries working in the oat and related to the production of oat seed. And they are providing 1.56% share to the total oat which was imported by India. So if you come to the center of origin, still there is a misconception that it comes from the Europe or from the cold countries or from the American countries, but it is known in the literature that it was grown in Egypt earlier. So the Mediterranean regions, Asiatic region or Asia Minor regions, they are major centers which has maximum variability available for the oats. With the passage of time, initially it was basically as a weed crop. This was identified in the wheat and barley fields. So from the wheat and barley, with the wheat and barley seed, it shifted to the European countries, and based on their requirement and presented, then oat evolves simultaneously with the passage of time. And now Europe and US are the major consumer and producers, and Russian Federation, they are major producer of the oats. In India, it is around 500,000 hectare area which is under cultivation. This is a rough estimate, and most of the areas under northern conditions and some part of central India, most of the states are growing now the oats. So if you go to the cultivated types, there are three major types: haploids, diploids, and hexaploids. haploids, tetraploids, and hexaploids. 7 haploids, 14 haploids, and 21 haploids. This makes up the oats. And the most commonly used oat is scientific name is Avena sativa. So oat, basically it was started as an animal feed. So with the passage of time, multiple uses has come up, and this for the animals, sheep, goats, besides the horses, this has come up very well. But the perception has changed with the passage of time, and it has come as a multifunctional crop now. From the animal feed, it has moved to the human food also in the chain. It is coming up with different type of products, and then the raw material has come up, where the oil and starch have been extracted from the oat and oat grains and has been utilized in the production of different type of products. So how we can utilize this multifunction crop? There are basically 3 major factors which are responsible for any improvement program. You have to introduce the material, you have to create the material or create the variation, whatever available with it, or utilize that variation. Then selection among that variation is an important criteria, which we, as oat is a self-pollinated crop, which we carry out after the F2 generation. Large number of populations are grown, and from there we carry out the selection for the required, whatever the objective we have decided for the improvement program of oat. And then third step is the stabilization, because after this long selection from the F2 onwards, stabilization is a main. If your material is stabilized, then only it will perform well in during the different testing of the material in trials. So what could be the sources of variations that will be available? The breeders are utilizing the natural variation which is already present or already exists, but that variation should be heritable variation. If it is not heritable variation, it's become difficult that your material is not going to be stabilized, and it will take long time to develop a new variety. Interspecific variation, interspecific crosses or intervarietal crosses were prepared. You can also utilize different type of wild and ancestral relatives for which are available in the crop. Mutations which happens rarely, but once it comes up, you have to check out where the mutated plants has come from and for what particular traits it is expressing itself. And then the use of new techniques of molecular biology and biotechnology that which are in very infancy stage. Then selection from variation. It's important to find out that what type of traits we have to use, what type of traits we have to utilize. For the traits we are selecting today, they will be of good use, of the use to the farmer or to the industry after 10 years of time, because process of development of variety, it will take around 7 to 8 years. And how many genes you have, that you have to decide. Whether it is the trait you are using is controlled by one gene, or then you have a different strategy for the breeding. And if it is controlled by many genes, then a different type of strategy is utilized. Besides this, if it is dominant, then different. And if it is in the recessive stage, suppose if you are going for a disease resistance material development, then different type of strategy is utilized. Besides this, there is a problem that while handling the material, their environmental stress, environmental role should be low. When you are selecting your material, it should be less. If you have a large environment, if you have the effect of environment in your genotype, then the chances are that your material is not stable and it will not perform in different conditions or different environmental conditions. And another thing is that if you are selecting for yield, there are many traits which are affecting or correlating or positively or negatively correlated with the yield. So you have to find out which type of traits you will be utilizing for the production of a particular type of a material. So as I said that it's a self-pollinated crop, pollination starts from the top and move downwards. So the stabilization of material is very important. Different type of material breeding techniques are available, mostly utilized by the breeders. All these, the bulk method, pedigree method, Dacros method, single seed descent method or single trait selection and molecular markers, these are the techniques which has been utilized by breeders for selection and and the development of new type of varieties. In the bulk method, simple is that after the crossing, you bulk. When the F1 is produce the F2. From the F2, you bulk your material for the different type of traits you are selecting, and that keep on bulking up to the 8 to 9 generations, and then individual plant selection is carried out. In the pedigree method also, from the F2 onwards, single plant progenies are evaluated, and you keep on extracting, you keep on discarding or rejecting your material which is not performing well. The problem is that you have to maintain the pedigree of the material which is transferring from F2 to F9 generation. Break course methods are basically used when you have to go for resistance breeding, disease breeding methods you have to utilize. With the passage of time, single seed descent method or single trait selection methods has been utilized, where from the F2 onwards, single seed is selected for the single seed is selected. Excuse me. Single seed descent method is used, where from the F2 onwards, single plant is selected, single seed is selected, or single trait is selected, and then we go for the selection of the material. Last is the molecular markers in plant breeding. How you can utilize different type of markers available in the oat crops for the development of varieties. So the strategy what you deal with that, either it should be a focused strategy or diversified strategies. Sir, मेरा लेक्चर चल रहा है सर, मेरा लेक्चर चल रहा है, वीडियो करने के लिए पूछिए. So focus strategy, new technologies are there to improve your breeding program, and gene pool, you can make pools of different type of materials and then come up with the magic population or fix. Then diversified strategies. So here the focus is on the approaches to increase intervarietal or interspecific diversity. The genes which are not available in your cultivated types, go for the wild species, and from the wild species you can transfer those traits to the cultivated types. And then markers can help in this. From the F2 generation, you can go for electrophoresis or polymorphism studies and study your material where the trait specific studies can be taken up. So overall, if you find out that there will always be a criticism to the approach, whatever the approach you will be utilizing for the drought conditions will not be beneficial for the people who are working on high rainfall areas, and the high rainfall area strategies are not good for the drought prone areas. So you have to find out what type of strategy will be suitable and for who is going to take your technology or your variety or the ultimately out product which you form, who will be going to take. So criticism will always be there. So be specific with your objective, be specific with your plan, and go for the selection of that type of material only what we are going to propose after 8 to 9 years of selection of your material. Because there are many chances that breeders have to work for the negatively, most of the time, most of the traits which are related with the yield, they are negatively correlated. So you have to minimize or decrease the negatively correlated traits. Like for example, I will go high yield is related with early maturity. So if you are going for early maturity, you are not going to have sufficient amount of forage yield or a grain yield from a plant. You are not going to expect. So there will be a reduction of around 10% in the yield. So you have to minimize the correlations, which is not an easy process. You have to, this very well, the people who are dealing with the breeding programs, that development of one material takes 6 years of production. Then you have to place that material for All India coordinated research project. For the 3 years of testing is minimum required from IVT 1 to AVT 2, and then agronomic and seed materials are there. So it will take another 3 years. So total becomes 9 years. And then after 9 years, your material is going to compete with the national checks, and the zonal checks are there. Only if there is a superiority of 10%, then your material will be promoted for the as a release of a variety. So when more number of traits are considered, so it becomes a really very big challenge. So you have to be very strategic. You have to discard your material which is not performing well. And with the passage of time, you have to carry out single plant selection, then comparison test, and then district tests and production tests. All these are the process which are required before release of a variety. And these steps, it's a long steps which takes into development of a particular variety from the international nursery, state multi or germplasm evaluation, nursery station trials, pest and disease, all these 5 parameters. Then a entry is placed for accurate testing, and where it compete with all the entries which the other breeders or other scientists are submitting for the all India testing level. And this will work as initial varietal trial, then it will go to the advanced varietal trial, and then a variety is identified if it performs well against all the entries which are placed for testing and against the national and the zonal checks. So if you come to the breeding strategies, there are 4 major things which are related with the oat: that exploitation of germplasm resources, then cultivar breeding. What type of breeding you are going to deal in the oat, for single cut types, for multi-cut types, dual purpose types, or grain types, or any other. So majorly these 4 type of breeding program: for the single cut, for the multi-cut, for dual purpose and grain purpose, you have to carry up, because where the dairy owners are there, or you have a huge, if you need a huge quantity of forage yield at a time, you go for single cut types. Multi-cut types, if you have small number of herds, then repeat time to time you need, after every 30 to 40 days, after every 50 days you need, then multi-cut types are good. Dual purpose types are that you can have a sufficient quantity of green fodder yield. After 50 days, you can cut your crop and then leave it for the straw yield and for the grain yield. That will be a dual purpose type. Dual purpose type definition, it varies with different type of requirement in the different crops. And then grain purpose types are basically stout stature types. Thick stem, heavy panicle, high number of grains are required for the grain purpose types. Then resistance to biotic and abiotic stresses, and then improvement in the nutritional quality. You have to keep in mind these 4 criteria before going for oat breeding program. So exploitation of germplasm resources, why it is basically required? This is required basically for regular inflow of genetic variability. If variability in your material is not there, you are not able to develop a new material. Then strengthening the genetic resources with the passage of time, new type of material, new type of disease, insect, pest, or problem soils, or some climate factors are coming up. The insect or the diseases which are minor earlier, they are becoming major now. So strengthening of genetic resources is very important. And this is the IGFRI, NVPGR, and state agriculture universities, they are taking all these things into consideration. Desirable genetic stocks has been identified for forage, seed quality, and resistance, and for hybridization, this material is utilized. So whatever is available that has not been utilized, so we have to utilize all the germplasm resources which is available with us right now. What basically plant genetic resource is that all material that are available for improvement of a cultivated plant species is known as plant genetic resource. Why this is become very important? Why the importance of PGR? In earlier we have seen that Irish potato famine, Bengal famine, then sudden corn blight and grassy stunt virus disease. In many of the cases, breeders and with the help of other scientists, other researchers, the genetic diversity has been utilized to produce resistant type of material. Right now, as we know that we are dealing with a pandemic situation, coronavirus is going on. This is the news that 18.9 million people, salaried people, lost their jobs during this lockdown. This is in the news today itself, and rest you knows that how many people were transferred here to there. Food is becoming very short. In future, human survival of human species, it's becoming a challenge and very difficult, and we don't know what is going to happen into the future. So we have to prepare ourselves. We have to conserve the plant genetic resources, whatever material is available. Basically, what happens that I used to give this example many times, that how we are losing the diversity. If you see on your screen on the left side, the first picture, a whole of the plant species, grass and trees, all are available, and then introduce one train track was introduced, then somebody start making a hut and a road was produced, then come to the fourth, fifth, and you can, if you come to the ninth picture on your screen, you will find that it is totally different from the first screen. So whatever material is available here, it is lost totally in the ninth photo, ninth picture. This is how the plant and resources, whatever available with us, they are losing day by day and every day. Right now, whenever we are cutting the trees and clearing the jungles and the fire in the forest, it's becoming a major problem nowadays. We are losing the genetic resources. Another example is that if you visit the Fairview Garden in England, this was the picture taken of the Fairview Garden in 1954. You can see that colonies are only on the right side of your screen. If some colonies are there, people are living here, and whole this area is totally the fields, pure fields. Nobody is residing, and with the passage of time, within a span of 40 years, this is totally changed. The picture is totally changed. Fairview Garden is still there. This is the picture taken in 1998. From the previous picture, you can see the difference, how the resources are lost. In this Fairview Garden, this is the 12.25 acres of island, fully surrounded by housings and shopping centers. 100 different type of fruits and vegetables are there, and it feeds 500 families and employs 20 people only. So this is how we are losing the genetic resources. So it's very important to conserve the material, whatever is available. Throughout the world, we have 8 large germplasm collection centers, which are conserving maximum type of crop diversity for different type of crops. Largest in the USA, NCGRP, followed by China, then NBPGR in India, then VirLab in Russia, and Japan, Mexico, Germany, and Syria. So USA, China, and Russia, they are the major 3 centers which are having this oat material with them, and they are utilizing different type of cultivated and wild resources for the improvement of oat crop. At IGFRI, we also have a small mid-term storage module. Also, this was established in year 2000, and from that time, it is working condition is there. We used to keep our material, about 10,000 accessions of different 67 genera has been kept in this, and we used to rejuvenate them after every 6 to 7 years, and a temperature of 6 to 8 degrees maintained in this mid-term storage module established at IGFR agency. These are different type of forage crops and grasses which are maintained in this module. So it was basically the idea of conserving that started with the gene pool concept of genetic resources. Primary gene pool, tertiary, secondary gene pool, and the tertiary gene pool. 3 gene pools are there. Primary gene pools basically can have the species which are easily crossable with each other, and you can utilize them easily for the development of new material. From primary gene pool to secondary gene pool, crosses are not easy. Some F1 are fertile, sometimes they are not fertile, and the crossing with tertiary gene pool is very difficult. You need special techniques. Under rescue technique, you have to utilize for the tertiary gene transfer, utilizing the tertiary gene pool. In the oat, as it is an autogamous self-pollinated, Macrostachya is the only species, Avena macrostachya, which is a perennial allogamous autotetraploid. Avena basically is a polyploid which comes from combination of diploid tetraploids and hexaploids. This has 3 gene pools, primary gene pool and tertiary gene pools. They are extensive and diverse. But secondary gene pool, it is very poorly represented in the ex situ conditions. They are not able to survive. So primary gene pool, basically it includes all the hexaploid Avena species with minor restrictions of gene flow, crossing among wild and cultivated. Low fertility is there. Mostly hexaploids, Avena sterlis, Byzantina, Fetua, and Stiva. These 4 species are mostly utilized crossing program for different type of traits. Still, this work is going on at many places throughout India and throughout world. Secondary gene pool, tetraploids are there. Macropana is mostly utilized for improvement of quality type of traits in the oat breeding programs. Avena strigosa, Avena barbata, tetraploids are there. Then cultivated type is Abyssinica, which has been utilized very nicely in this crop. Then tertiary gene pool, tertiary gene pool, all diploid species are there. Brevis, Claudia, and Lamiglumis are the species in the tertiary gene pool, and some tetraploids are also there. Barbata, Vaviloviana, Abyssinica, and Macrostata, which are present in tertiary gene pool. They are distantly related with a very restricted gene flow to the hexaploids. Cultivated type is Strigosa. Mainly these are the 25 different, 13 diploids, 6 tetraploids, 6 hexaploids. These are the species which are generally available at most of the places. Around 70 species are there, but they are not performing well in the under ex situ conditions. So they are not representing the major pool of the breeding programs. Most of them in the breeding program, these 25 species has been utilized by utilizing different techniques. So importance is to manage these plant genetic resources. Because you have to face the global warming situation, you have to fight against biotic and abiotic stresses, then increase the crop production through higher productivity, and then develop the varieties as per demand comes. So documentation of PGR is very important. It is the database, specific database material is required. Pre-breeding programs, they need a change in their image because it's totally vanished from the breeding program. Nobody is interested in go for pre-breeding programs, which is a very primary requirement for any improvement program for the future use. You have to go for pre-breeding. So pre-breeding program should be taken up in the coming years to utilize them by seeing the changes in the climatic conditions. Pre-breeding is the requirement of the oat breeding program right now. Then markers can assist in easy identification and early identification of different type of new material which are produced after the crossing program. Mostly the resistance breeding program has been utilized. Then yield and quality has been improved by utilizing the wild relatives, and many varieties has been developed by different centers throughout India, either by direct utilization of biodiversity which is available, and then by utilizing 2 techniques, either incorporation where 1 or 2 genes are present, or introgression where the quantitative genes are there. And then pre-breeding has been utilized for interspecific and intergeneric species. At IGFRI, we have also utilized intergeneric crosses and interspecific crosses and a variety has been released from this technique. So we need to collect, conserve, and utilize the plant genetic resources, whatever is available with us, because otherwise, with the passage of time, we lost them, and in the near future, we are not able to utilize it. And beside this, oat grain breeding program needs an attention because oat grain is as a human food is coming up very fast as it is related to the human health. This is the slide. Basically, most of the data resources that has been utilized for this. So when you are dealing with different type of breeding, while going through different type of material that has been generated, so yield is the ultimate aim which is we are targeting. So thing is that green fodder yield should be high, dry matter yield should be high, grain yield should be high, quality should be good, and there is no biotic and abiotic stresses should not be there. So how we can go for all these positives by reducing these two negatives, biotic and abiotic stresses. So as we already told that single cut, multi-cut, dual purpose and grain purpose are the four major things we are dealing with in oat crop. High grain fodder yield and high dry matter yield, you can have single cut varieties. So if you have a profuse till ring around 15 to 20, go for multi-cut types. Quick regenerating types after the harvest, initial harvest or after 45 days to 50 days, if it is quickly coming up and regenerating again, go for the dual purpose types. And fast growing should always be there in all these three programs. Minimum 4 to 5 cuts you can take. In central Indian conditions and in the southern conditions, you cannot take much because the cool period is not there. Then tolerance to waterlogging should be there. So where the oat stands when we are comparing with wheat and barley. So where the oat stand basically, how we can utilize it. So as we know that barley, it is a vigorous crop. It's a competitor with the oat. It comes up very well initially, but after the cuts, it does not come up well. It does not regenerate well. So oat has the potential that it regenerates very well. Beside this, barley has shorter production life and wheat is slow to produce feed. So what happens that when you have a lean period during the month of October, November, and at the end when you are harvesting the crops, so oat provides feed green fodder at the lean period time. So oat when the barsim and other fodder crops are not available, then oat is a crop which gives you a one cut in the month of and the month of November. Month of November, you can have one cut, green fodder cut from the oat rather than from the barley or from the barsim or from the other forage crops, cultivated forage crops. So oat has been widely used as a food and a forage crop throughout the world. There are certain desirable features which are available with the oat which makes it a potential crop for the breeding program, that it's a semi-prostate to prostate growth habit, long pre-jointing phase, pre-tillering habit, and leaf canopy is relatively prostate in the early state, but it becomes more erect when it elongates. So more erectness will trap more light from the sun, and this will add to the yield. The new leaves higher in the canopy and late flowering time, so you can have right from mid maturing to the late maturing varieties you can have easily available with us. Other attributes which are related with the oat, it is quick to first feed. As I said, you can provide one cut in the month of November itself when the other forage crops are not available. Late to head, stay green for the longer period. Stay green types are there. Then high green fodder and high yielding, make best use of available moisture, and fast growth and regrowth, and good quality and palatability is very good. But all these parameters, the problem is that it is more related with the weed crops. So it is very difficult to identify in the initial stages where the weed is and where the oat plant is. It becomes very difficult. How the genetic resources has been used in the breeding program in the oat. Basically, oat is little tedious crop to when we are dealing with the exchange of genes as compared to wheat and barley. The crossing program, you will find difficulty in setting up the fertility. There are sterility barriers are there always. So wild type of oat is divided into 4 categories. Crosses are easily performed and result into the fertile progeny. All hexaploid species, you can create crosses and you can have the fertile types. Crosses are easily produced, but progeny becomes partially sterile. You need some special technique, either embryo rescue or embryo culture techniques. Longiglumis, Hirtula, and Magna. When you are utilizing them, basically Magna is a good quality protein line species, wild species. For quality improvement program, this material has been used. Third is crosses are difficult and progeny is substantially sterile. That it's of no use. Barbata is, but the Barbata is has been utilized in the resistance breeding program, so we cannot leave that species. Then crosses are difficult and progeny become completely sterile. Prostate type, Reviliana, and Murphy as they are available, but they are very difficult to cross with the cultivated type of Avena species. Then hexaploid wild species, Fatwa and Sterlis, they has been commonly used in the US and Canadian breeding program. And then Longiglumis, this has worked as an intermediate crop, intermediator between the wild species and the cultivated oat, so that the transfer of gene takes place easily. So this species as intermediator it will facilitate the crossing program among the tetraploids, because it contains a gene which suppress the partially homologous pairing restrictions in the oat. And it is used to integrate resistance gene from Barbata and Marocana to the cultivated types. So high forage yield with high grain. So what we have to do is reduce the lodging. Go for strong and short shoots. If you are dealing with high grain, you have to reduce the stem length, because otherwise it will lodge and you are not going to have sufficient grain yield. Then remove excessive leaf area. High fertility, you are going to have thin stem. So remove excess fertilizers. Don't go for excessive fertilizers when you are dealing with grain type of material. Reduce the incidence of fungal diseases, because the material what you are going to produce, or it will be given in the green form to the animals. So fungal diseases should be less. Improve the light penetration. Go for the selection of erect type of leaves are there in the plants. Go for the selection of those types. And besides, quick regenerating varieties should be there. So oat fulfills some of the criteria that it is grazing tolerant. Basically, grazing is not popular in Indian conditions, but it is very popular in European countries and in the US. And in Indian condition, cut and carry method basically is used. And regeneration capacity is very high in the oat, so it recovers very well after cut. And this facilitates grazing. So, and beside this, it will provide green fodder in the lean period. Sufficient straw and grain yield you can have. So where to utilize this variability which is available with us, that it should be used in high rainfall areas to medium rainfall areas, provide additional winter forage, and then growing interest in the drier regions with mixed farmings. Cutting is not suitable in dry region with poor water holding capacity, because if it needs a cool period for its growth and high green fodder yield, a cool period is required. If you have a shorter span of cool conditions like in Rajasthan or in the southern Indian conditions, don't go for multi-cut types. Go for single cut types or dual purpose types. So we can maximize the green fodder. Maximum green fodder yield is obtained when we cut at the flowering stage. 50% flowering stage is there, and at that time, best quality at the booting stage we can have. So high green fodder yield with high dry matter yield is positively correlated with some of the traits that plant height, flag leaf, pillars per plant, leaf area, stem thickness. These, if you have a material which is good for all these 5 traits, directly go for selection of that material, because it will definitely going to give you high green fodder yield and dry matter yield. And early sowing will give you, or a sowing by 25th October in Indian conditions, give you a sufficient amount of green fodder yield and dry matter yield. Then cutting at 50 days after sowing is recommended. Nitrogenous fertilizer, one time only you can give up to 120 kg nitrogen. Timely sown and cutting will give you a high green fodder yield. Oat straw has also been used because it gives best digestibility. It's 45%. No other straw is giving that much of digestibility in the forage crops. Then less, but this has less CP than barley and more than wheat. Oats in oat straw, and then it is good palatable roughage and also serve as excellent bedding for lactating animals or for the newborns. Oat also works as a good hay in the area which are dry conditions or which are warm at harvesting time, and it is easy to unsoil them. You can also unsoil. Unsoiling is very good in oat. I will come to that slide also. Harvesting time is very important when cereal legume mixture intercrops are grown. Harvesting time is very important. So, and the grain is used for feeding also as for the poultry feed or for the other animals. Grains are used. A important study that I will like to mention here, that Rajala and Pirzo, they carried out one study that for high and significant yield in most of the modern cultivars, grain period is very short. With the time, we are getting very less shorter period for the cold conditions, and the cold conditions are not there. We are getting, winters are getting easily waived off from the March onwards. From the study, they said that the high cell number is negatively correlated with the grain weight, because the theory was that if high cell numbers are there in the plant, so grain weight should be high. But after their result, after they studied it, they found that they were negatively correlated. So they said that grain yield, grain filling rate, harvest index, and grain numbers, they are positively correlated among themselves. But stem length is negatively. So reduce the stem length, go for selection of these traits. Silage, oat silage, which is known as oatlage, this has been very effectively used. After the maize crop, oat silage is the best silage, which is used by, it's just like achar we used to eat in the food. It's an achar for the animals. In the simple language, we can call it achar for the animals. It's a high moisture stored fodder that can be fed to the cattle and sheep and also used as a biofuel. So it is fermented and stored in a process which is known as unsiling, unsilage, where the whole of the green plant is used, not just the grain, whole of the green plant is used. So its success depends on the water-soluble carbohydrates which are available at the time of harvest and the dry matter content. There should not be high dry matter content, should not be there at the time of harvest. Water-soluble carbohydrates should be more. So good water-soluble content before grain formation allows making of good silage in combination with primly wilting. Oat has more silage and green forage per hectare than any other cereal crop. Okay, so if you come to a stage of the harvest, at what will be the best stage for the silage? At the boot stage, dry matter is low, palatability and water-soluble carbohydrates are more, energy is very high, and protein content is very high. So it is good for high lactating elements. It provides high nutritive value is obtained. So boot stage is the best stage for harvest for silage making. Then milk duff stage and soft duff stage. Dry matter is little bit high, palatability is low, energy is very high, and protein content is low. So this basically in late pregnancy cases and high forage is where the high forage yield is required. So you can go for the milk duff stage. And also during the making of hay, this stage is also good. And the harvesting also depends on the local conditions and the environment, and wilting is necessary to reduce the moisture. So these are different type of stages: boot stage, head emergence, grain filling stage, and mature stage. So boot stage, head emergence, these three stages, second picture, third and fourth, these are the stages you can utilize for silage making and for the hay making. So for hay, fine stem and leafiness, it is good. So if you are going to have your material to be developed which perform well for the hay, so you have to have the traits with the lines with or your material should have fine stem and leafiness. It should be good. Level of nitrogen fertilizer should not be very high, because nitrogen content increases the fiber level, NDF and ADF content, which are not desired, and this decreases the water soluble carbohydrates. Then cutting at the milk duff stage is best for yield and the quality. After multiple cuts, leaf stem ratio also decreases, and the ratio of stem increases. More of the stem, dry matter will becomes more, so the quality deteriorates. Oat silage, this is cut by the mower, just showing a picture, turned by the tedder, then racked. After few days, when the moisture is reduced from up to 60 to 70%. For silage, you can have a moisture up to 40 to 45%, and 60 to 70% for the dry for hay. Then chopped fine and then transferred to bunker, or you can store them in any form like oat bales of oat hay. It's not much popular, but it is coming up now in Punjab and in the Haryana state. It is coming up very well. Oat hay staked for winter feed. You can store them as a source for winter situations when the dry fodder is not available, or during rainy days when the dry fodder is not available. Diseases are another factor which are affecting the yield and quality. So 4 major diseases which are affecting the crop: stem rust, leaf and crown rust, barley yellow, dwarf virus, and Septoria aveni. These 4 diseases are affecting the forage crop, this oat crop. For crown rust, genetic resources have been utilized. Diploid don't have they are susceptible crown rust for the crown rust disease. Tetraploid are resistant, and hexaploid are resistant. So Sterlis, Ludoviciana, Occidentalis, they have been utilized for transferring the crown rust resistance. For stem rust, diploids are moderately resistant. Tetraploids are susceptible, they cannot be used for stem. Hexaploids are moderately resistant. So in a total, if you combine them for a crown rust and a stem rust, it is coming in central part of India. These 2 diseases are not coming much, but they are very high in Punjab, in Himachal Pradesh conditions. Rust are affecting oat crop, green oat crop. Different type of wild species: Longiglomes, Canadensis, Hirtula, Barbata, Agardiana, Magna. All these species has been utilized to transfer resistance into the cultivated types. For oat leaf blight disease, diploids are moderately susceptible, tetraploid are resistant, and hexaploid are resistant. So you can utilize tetraploid and hexaploid species for the oat leaf blight. For barley yellow disease virus, diploids are moderately resistant, tetraploids are resistant. You can utilize these species for the in your resistance breeding program. So a breeder has to plan accordingly that after 10 years, so when your material is ready, what should be the demand of the farmer, what should be the demand of the industry. So for resistance breeding program, you have to, for drought situation, you have to keep high temperature, heat, dry weather and drought. And for the rain, waterlogging condition, lodging resistance, disease and insects. And for the cold, low temperature and heavy snow. You have to consider these factors before going for breeding program or taking up a breeding program while dealing with the resistance. Climate and soils, they are affecting the oat crop. Oat is basically cooler climates, but not good in extreme temperate conditions. They grow best in the fertile to light to medium textured soils. High nitrogen, more stalks, than less grain. And then you can grow in the region with a rainfall of 500 millimeter. It's not a winter hardy as wheat. And hot and dry weather just before heading is not good for seed yield. What sort of genetic resources are available for abiotic stress is basically oat is considered to be a little bit tolerant to the problem soils. Wherever the problem soils are there, either in the form of acidic form or alkali form or saline soils, they are little bit more resistant. Besides this, Avena barbata has also been utilized as a drought tolerant species. So you can utilize for drought breeding program, you can utilize this. You can see on the right side this in the Chinese condition, in alkaline and soils, oat is coming up very well and performing very well. Even in the salinity conditions, it is maturing well. Although the height is not much, but it is maturing. Grain yield is very high. So substantial results are there that it is also saline tolerant. Then comes the nutritional point of view. If you go to the nutritional quality, then protein, oil, and vitamins are important. You should have high content and quality of the protein, high content and quality of the oil, and high vitamin content. So overall picture, if you see what type of green forage type of a plant or the varieties which are performing right now, how much yield they are giving. For a green fodder yield from the single cut, you are going to have 400 to 800 quintals of per hectare. So green fodder yield. For multi-cut, you have 400 to 600. In dry matter, 70 to 120. And then CP is 7 to 12%, and dry matter, in vitro dry matter digestibility is very good. 60 to 70% is digested. That means it is most of the things are available to the animal, and that will ultimately improve the health of the animal. If you check the straw grain and or compare the straw grain and the groat, groat basically is the seed of the oat where the hull has been removed. It is known as groat. Grain is the plant. Grain is the grain which is having the hull content. Hull cover is there. Lima and pilia enclosing the grain. Then it is called grain. When lima and pilia is removed, the hull is removed. It is known as groat content. So CP is 3 to 4%, 9 to 12%, and groat also has 12%. Oil content is good in oat, but oil content is not good for human consumption. So go for low oil type of material for human consumption point of view. But oil content is good for animal. So high oil content will be good for animal. Go for high oil material or select those material which are high in oil for animal point of view. On dry matter basis, the mineral studies has been taken up at IGFRI. So oat green, when it was checked that for most of the macro elements except cobalt, iron and manganese, all those are very good in oat, green plant. Zinc is very good. Zinc requirement, this is basically immune system of animal and immune system of even for the human beings. Zinc is very important. So zinc content is very low in most of the other grasses like maize, stover and sorghum. They have very good zinc content. Oat is a crop which provide, besides zincs, all other minor macro and micro elements are available. If you study the dry matter basis on the oat grain, again the zinc is very good, manganese is very good, copper is very good, calcium and phosphorus are low. So zinc is basically related with the immune system of the human body. If immune system is good, then zinc content is a responsible item for that. So you can utilize zinc of oat grain very well. So for the improvement of nutritional quality and biomass, you have to find out good quality, identify good quality of the material and the parents which are high quality, high biomass, go for crossing among them, then combine them and look for the specific trait which leaf stem ratio is positively correlated with the protein and digestibility. So go for selection of high leaf stem ratio should be there, and it should be positively correlated with the protein and digestibility. That will give you a nutrition for animal point of view, will be a best type of plant. Tiller numbers and head size should be good. Leaf number and leaf weight, they are important criteria for fodder yielding types. So go for selection of those materials. So if there is a change in temperature, how the oat crop is going to change, that CP is increased and very high when harvested at 50% flowering stage. Long growing season with rainfall provides high dry matter and high green fodder yield. Sunny days are with cold nights. They are good, high soluble carbohydrates are there. So sunny days with cold nights, water soluble high carbohydrates are more. Under mild waterlogging conditions, oil content is increased. That will be good for animal point of view. Then greenhouse gas emission from the oat are less than the rye and barley and the wheat. And narrow leaves are preferred by horses and the cattle. Horses are not there, so for the cattle, narrow leaves are preferred. And thin hulled oat is good for poultry feed also. Grain can also be used for the feed lot, and grain as a human food is increasing worldwide its attention because of beta glucan content present in them in the fiber form. And differences in oat genotype are found for grain yield, CP content, NDF content. So genetic resources for the quality breeding are that wild species has been identified as a different type of resources what we can get from the wild species available with us. High beta glucan content, we can utilize Atlantica, Damascenia, Hybrida, and Hirtula. High growth protein content, Longiglumis, Atlantica, Magna, Murphy, Barbata, and Sterliti are utilized. Lysine content high lysine from Barbata is important. You can utilize this species because lysine is responsible to make the availability of beta glucan content to the ultimately into the grain accumulation is there of the beta glucan. Lysine basically responsible. So high lysine is very important. High oil content, Pilosa, canarensis, Murphy, Magna, Fatwa, Ludoviciana, and Sterlis has been utilized. High level of unsaturated fatty acids are available. Different type of genetic resources has been used for that. At IGFRI, we have carried out different type of works, and a large number of material has been developed and released for cultivation. Although all those materials are basically for the animal point of view, and we have started work late now on the grain lines also. So identification and characterization of lines from the germplasm is very important. So we have identified the lines which for the different traits like early flowering, high tillering, plant height, leaf number, and leaf length. Then score the plant diseases for plant in the field condition susceptible and resistant types has been identified and utilized them in the breeding programs. Accessions has been selected for compact inflorescence, for dual purpose, and for the bold sealed characters. Main emphasis for the fodder yield and dry matter yield under single cut and multi-cut situations. Station trials has been conducted. Active trials, we are regularly giving the entries. The selection has been carried out for late maturing, early maturing, fast growth, high leaf stem ratio, high tillering. Then intervarietal crosses and interspecific crosses, basically Marocana and Stiva interspecific crosses were carried out, and GHO 2000-4 is the outcome in the form of a variety. That variety has high protein content, around 10 to 11% of CP is there in that variety. Interspecific hybrids has been utilizing the Sterlis, because Sterlis is known to provide high biomass, high growth rate, high protein content, and the traits has been transferred to the cultivated types. Then Venus Sterlis has been integrated for tillering habit also up to 12 to 15 type of material. In different generations, we are getting 12 to 15 type of materials are available with us. Different varieties, there are CVRC, this is the Central Varietal Release Committees, which is responsible for notification of varieties. Different type of forage crop varieties has been released from IGFRI and from different state agriculture universities which are working on oat improvement program. From IGFRI point of view, GHO 822 is released for central zone of India, and it is CP content is about 9%. Then 851, it's a multi-cut purpose type of variety. You can have easily 4 to 5 cuts from this variety and a forage yield of 45 to 50 tons per hectare. 99-2, this is for northeast zone and the northwest zone, adopted very well. Farmers are utilizing throughout the North Indian conditions, farmers are utilizing this variety for cultivation. 2000-4, this is the outcome of cross between Avena Marokana Magna or Avena Sativa. This is the outcome of varieties, the outcome of that interspecific cross. And this variety is released for cultivation throughout the India except center zone. High in CP content because of high CP content, 10 to 12%. 99-1 is for hill zone area. It has been released for cultivation. 10-1, this was released for the southern part of the country. And 9-1 has been released for the central zone of India, from the central India conditions. 12-2, again it was released for or notified by CVRC for south zone of the country. And then 15-1 identified in 2018 and notified in 2019 for the hill zone of the country, gives a substantial amount of forage yield and dry matter yield with a CP content of 10%. There are certain varieties which are oat varieties. These oat varieties are very good for the problem soil. If you are facing a problem of acid soils, you can go for these varieties: Kent 810, 212, 99-1, 99-2, 851. Then for saline soil, you can go for Kent PAU variety US 6 and 7. Coastal saline areas के लिए you can have 851 and 822. For sodic soils you can use GHO 822. So breeder has to develop the varieties with high yield potential, forage and grain yield, good looking disease resistance, high protein content, test weight and growth content. So all these things to be taken into consideration before starting a program. Another important thing that has come up recently, that oat as a food, because of changing in diet, this has come into the high demand now, and large number of products are available in the market. Basically, that is related to the health issues, where oat is known to reduce the colon cancer, for reduce the cholesterol and reduce the and good for diabetic patients. Because it's releases slowly it releases the sugar to the body, mainly because of some of the FDA has released guideline for utilize with the following constitution, that you can from one cup of 156 gram, one serving, you can have dietary fiber 16.5 gram, omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, protein, thiamine, amino acids, then iron, phosphorus, zinc, copper. All these things are available in 1 cup of oat, and USDA has used this, recommend this for the oat for human consumption point of view. So type of oats which are available, different type of oats are available. Whole oat is available as such grain which is available with us. Oat groat is whole oat without the hull has been removed, which is known as oat groat. Steel cut oat, that cut is oat with the steels in 3-4 pieces. Rolled oat, this is steel cut oat, but it is steamed and then flattered with the help of rollers. Instant oat is the rolled oat steamed for a longer time and rolled more fine. Means instant oat, like just 2-minute noodles. Like this is instant oat, is also 2-minute instant oat. Then oat flour has been used, come up very well, and it is available in the form of coarse, medium, and fine. So this is all because of fiber, which is present because of presence of this beta glucan content, which has the medicinal properties. When you consume oat, it becomes viscous, it becomes thick in the body. So it gives you a feeling that your sensation is filled, your appetite is filled. So you will take less food. And reducing the desire of the food, this will help controlling the weight. And ultimately, it releases the sugar slowly and slowly, and that will be good for diabetic patients. And it also helps in fiber, helps in this absorption of cholesterol from the body slowly and slowly. Oat milk is coming up very fast. Like, it is tasty, nutritious, cheaper than the dairy milk, and a good material for nervous system. For nervous system point of view, people are recommending oat tea nowadays, and it is preferred over other for high fiber, for vitamin E content, for folic acid and beta carotene content. What basically oat has? Oat consists, it's a beta glucan, basically it's a polysaccharide. It's a mixture of chain of 1,3 beta glucan D and 1,4 beta glucan D. So what happens that beta 1,3 linkage, it breaks down and it into the beta D glucan molecule, and it becomes soluble and flexible. And this will help in absorption of cholesterol from the body, but this 1,4 beta D linkage is indigestible. So this again, it will convert to this 1,4, and this whole process in a combination of 1,3, 1,4 beta D glucan, this helps in control of this diabetes in the patients. Then percentage of beta glucan in various role of the oat products, it varies. In the oat bran, it is 5 to 23%. In rolled oat, it is 4%, and oat flour, it is 4%. So before going for ideal milling type of a oat plant, you have to keep in the mind the requirement of the consumer. What the consumer need basically is high dietary fiber, then high beta glucan content, and then high protein with low oil, which is not good for consumer. But the producer, the farmer is the producer. He needs a high grain and high straw yielding and high grain fodder yielding types, stable yielding type, lodging resistant and disease resistant should be there, and a miller which is going to produce it or going to release as a variety. Its grain uniformity is required, high growth, easy dehelling, and low breakage and good oat growth color is required by the miller. There are large number of companies that has come up very well, and like Kellogg's first launched its breakfast product, Quaker launched the instant oat, then Saffola launched a health product, and then the biscuits came into the market. So it's a war going on among the countries for the breakfast, to change the breakfast habit of the Indians, and this has come up very well. Then Kellogg's come up with heart to heart to reduce the stress. Then Horlicks come up different type of products in the market. A range of products are available in the market. You can use them and you can utilize them for the production of a different type of use. Then people are also recommending oat rice processing has come up into the market, and using it as a staple food now. Oatmeal has come up very fast. Processing industries has been taken up, but the problem in India is that whatever is available, it has been imported from different countries, and it is only packed here and then sold into the market. So we need to have a strong grain improvement program should be there in the oat, is basically requirement of the hour. Oat flour has been used for producing different type of products in the market. Oat noodles has come up. Oat beverages, oat tea is been recommended for the nervous disease, to improve the nervous system. Oat tea has been recommended. Then the oat extract, beta-glucan peptide and lipid, they has been used for producing the different products. Beauty products has been used. But the problem is that we don't have low economic profits, high grain yielding varieties are not available. Bad image as an animal feed is there. Processing companies are not there. Traditional production processor are there. A full-fledged industry is not there. Lack of information about the health related issues, and the investment in the oat industry is not enough. So this leads to rejection of the oat crop as a major crop. But we have to present it a future crop. You have to change the image of the crop and what it can do for you, for health, for the baby point of view. So all sort of different products we find in the market, and the conclusion that oat rarely advertise itself. But so we need to advertise the oat to utilize as a human food or as an animal point. From the animal point of view, you have to place it for the human consumption point of view. These 10 different countries in India are nowadays selling different type of oat products into the country. So what we can do is to introduce the oat crop from the non-traditional area to the traditional areas, that increase the awareness among the farmers regarding its cultivation, then availability of high yielding varieties. Then adoption of conservation techniques, and implementation to conserve the agriculture should be made available, and availability of fodder during the lean period, which is very important. So we need attention. Beside all those things, we need for the future breeding program, we need attention on genetics, biochemical and physiological basis of regeneration, then rate of growth, then persistency over the years, multi-cut types, low interaction between genotypes and the climatic factors, conservation of useful genotypes, then improvement on forage quality, and then aggressiveness in the milk stands. At the policymakers' point of view, we need attention, introduction of high yielding varieties with the replacement of low potential and pest and disease susceptible varieties. Then encouragement for timely sowing, and then balanced use of fertilizers, and large scale farm trials to be introduced at farmers' field with the new varieties. And farmers should also be giving training to produce the crop and to go for seed production of oat crop. Seed production should be there in the India itself, so that we have to reduce the import of the material from the other countries. Then quality seed should be there. Then creation of storage facilities and disposal of the oat at good prices. So what we should do for the next crop of oat, it depends on you. You have to decide. This is all from my side. Thank you very much. Hello, sir. Hello.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yes. Okay. Hello. Are you getting my voice? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Are there any questions? Please ask.
Hello, Sahib sir. Hello.
Yes.
I am audible, sir.
Yeah. Go on. Yes.
Sir, may I want to know which species of Avena are compatible for interspecific crossing?
No, madam, can you write the question? I am not getting your voice clear. Avena is?
Yes, sir.
Pardon?
Species which are compatible for interspecific crossing.
Which one? Avina Staiva with
Baginata or which?
For quality point of view, you use Avina Magna or Avina with Avina Staiva. So you have to make interspecific crosses. Then go for if you are not getting not able to have the sufficient amount of seed or embryo is not there, go for embryo culture technique. Then go for the establishment of the plant.
Okay. Yes, sir. Hello, sir. One more question. Hello.
Yeah, go on. Yes.
Sir, what is the basic difference between the edible type oat and forage type oat?
It's totally different. Both of they basically, forest types are required for animal point of view. You have to breed your varieties, you have to breed your material. You need more of the green fodder yield because you have to cut it at green stage and feed it to the animal. For human consumption point of view, you need more stuff type, shorter straw, short length, low plant height, more number of tillers, high number of grains should be there in the human consumption point of view, and grain weight should be more. That is the difference between forage type and the grain types.
Okay. Thank you, sir. One more question, sir.
Yes.
What is the inheritance of basic characters like plant height, stem diameter?
Plant height
And stem diameter. For especially for
diameter.
lodging resistance, if we try to go breeding program, then what is the inheritance or genetics of that genes for plant height responsible for that or stem diameter?
There will be no problem at all if you are going for lodging resistance in your material, and even if you have like lodging is a problem, you can manage it easily. You can cut your material initially after 5 days, 50 days after sowing. You can cut your material, and then when your material comes, it will not lodge. It's a management issue is more.
Okay.
Yes. You have to manage your material at a proper time. You have to harvest your material at a proper time and at a proper stage. But mostly it is recommended go for 45 to 50 days after sowing, cut your material. If you are breeding for grain types or if you are breeding for dual purpose type. But if you are breeding for animal point of view, then there is no need to cut. But if you are getting lodging susceptibility in your material, for if you are having this animal breeding point of view, then you have to manage your material and go for a screen among your material, which material is performing well without cutting at 50 days of sowing.
Okay. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Very nice presentation, sir.
Welcome.
Anyone else? Please ask. Any other question, please?
So I apologize, Mr. Majid. I apologize because in between there are many things are coming. Sometimes phone are coming because we have another session. Some Doordarshan team is there, so they are waiting for me to.
No problem.
So that was the thing.
On behalf of our team at NADCL and on behalf of the participants, thank you very much for this presentation, and we would like to thank you from the bottom of our heart. Thank you, sir. We can all leave the presentation.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
very much, and namaste to all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.